Welcome to a present from the past.
The show for all your paranormal needs.
Hello and welcome to another episode of A Present from the Past. I am your host, Weldon Trantham, and today's episode, we're going to be talking about a hospital. Yep. It's going to be fun. It's going to be crazy. This hospital has so much going on. Wow, it's crazy. Once again, folks, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button, hit the dislike button, leave me a comment down below. Anything, everything, constructive criticism preferred. If you got some suggestions for how I can change things up, make things a little bit different, make things more interesting for you, please let me know. I love positive feedback, or creative feedback, or creative criticism, however you want to put it. Today's episode, we're going to visit a little small town south of San Antonio, Texas, called Yorktown. And we're more specifically going to be talking about Yorktown Memorial Hospital. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so Yorktown Memorial Hospital was founded in the early 1950s. I've seen a lot of things say 1950. I've seen some things say 1951, but it was it was created by a Catholic church. It was created by the Felician sisters, which were nuns, in 1950, 1951, and it ran all the way up until 1986 to 1988. I say 1986 to 1988 because one of the things I saw had it closing in 1986. Another one said it reopened in 1986 and closed in 1988. But for all that time span, it was a rehabilitation center for addicts. Okay, so people with all sorts of addictions were going here and getting help and getting treated. Now, it was only open for 37 years max. In that 37 years, it was ran for a period of time by the Felician sisters, and also, I don't know if it was the same period of time or a different period of time, but a Dr. Leon Nowerski. If I mispronounce that, I am sorry. But in that 37-year span, there was roughly 2,000 deaths tied to that hospital. 37 years, 2,000 people died. And it's not even that big of a place. And it's a small town in the middle of nowhere, Texas. That's hard for me to wrap my mind around, people. That's a lot. 2,000 people. I know it's 37 years, but you break that down. Here, I'll get the calculator. I'll do the math myself. Calculator. 2,000 people divided by 37 years. That is 54 patients a year. That means they have one patient die a week. Sometimes two, because 54, there's 52 years, 52 weeks in a year. So they had one patient die a week, and then, on 2 of those weeks, it was 2. Dang. That's a lot of people. So you can only imagine what type of stuff was going on in an addiction rehabilitation place. a lot of people with their own demons and struggles coming to one place to seek help and being treated by nuns that apparently were pretty ruthless from some of the stories I'm gathering. And at least how I'll dive more into those stories here in a minute. But so you got 2,000 people over a 37-year period. I don't know exactly how many people they treated in that 37-year period. So, it may, if there was like 200,000 people that came through there, 300,000, losing 2,000 people is not as bad as it could have been. I know that sounds terrible, but, I'm sorry. Now, you got to think about this. All these people that are coming in here, they have different addictions that they're being treated for. And I don't know how the addiction rehabilitation was going in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but I know before then it was very barbaric, and they would probably do the same thing to everybody no matter what you're addicted to. Nowadays, it depends on what you're addicted to, determines how they treat it. Not back then, they treated all the same. So, now we can dive into some of the notable. Oh, and let me just notate here: the Dr. Leon Nowersky. Apparently, when he retired, he was in his 90s, and he was still treating patients well into his 90s when he retired his, being a medical doctor. At the time of his retirement, he was the oldest, was the oldest practicing medical doctor in Texas. 90 something years, man. And they're saying they don't know how he made it that long because he had a reputation. Apparently, several fatal accidents while under his care. One such person went in for thyroid surgery and ended up getting their throat slit by the doctor. Yeah, that's crazy. Why did that man still have a license? Oh, wow. Things are crazy, crazy. So let's talk about some of the named entities that show up at the location. And we'll also talk about a horrific accident that happened there that there wasn't a name that came from it, but they're pretty sure the story holds true because of some of the other evidence. We'll get to it. Number one is Stacy. Stacy is a little girl. They said you'll come across her apparition either in her old room on the first floor, sometimes in the library, sometimes in the hall, and she will ask for her favorite book, which is the Pokey Little Puppy. I've never read this book. I kind of want to read it just so I can kind of have that connection factor with this story. But apparently there was a copy of this book found on the property with a note from Dr. Leon Nowersky to Stacy. So that's kind of a little creepy. I'll get back to them. Doug Richards was a heavy equipment machinist. Apparently, they don't know how he died, but there was an accident back in 1973, and he passed away at the hospital. They say you can see his apparition walking down the halls, and he has a white T-shirt and blue jeans. Nothing other than, you may see him walking by. Nobody said anything about, oh, he made me feel bad or creepy or anything like that. He just kind of popping in like, hey, what's going on, man? Another person that, and this one died on the premises. They didn't mention so much of seeing apparitions of this one, but he did die on the premises. There was a young gentleman that was trying to seek help. He was in a bad way. He showed up at the back door, was ringing the doorbell for the back door, knocking on the door, and they don't know if the night nurse, because this happened at night, they don't know if the night nurse had fallen asleep or if the bell wasn't working. Either which way, the next morning when they woke up and they were doing the rounds and everything, someone opened up the back door, and this poor young kid, or not young kid, but young man, TJ, was found dead at the doorsteps. Wow. All right. Before I get to the gruesome story, and yeah, I know those are tragic. Someone seeking help and not getting it, and then a machinist having an accident. That pretty gruesome. Now I'm going to talk about one of the entities that appears there that apparently everybody's afraid of, and it's kind of bad, but they say if you see the nuns, remember I said it was ran by the Felician sisters, which were nuns. They were Catholic nuns. They have pushed people, pinched people, scratched people. Apparently, they really hate people with tattoos. So if they see tattoos, or you have a bunch of tattoos, they'll charge at you. I don't know why. Forgive me. But if you've seen Blues Brothers and you know about the nuns and Blues Brothers and how they beat Jake and Elwood with a ruler, I'm sorry. That's the image I get in my head and I can't get it out. I'm sorry. But apparently there's these evil nuns that will attack certain people that come onto the property. Now, in my mind, the most interesting story and the most gruesome, there was at one point a love triangle going on between a nurse, and it was either, a nurse, a patient, and her ex, or a nurse and two patients. Not really sure who the other two people were, but we know one of them was a patient, and there was definitely a nurse involved. So the love triangle is going on, and this nurse is with her new boo, let's just say patient number one, and apparently they had snuck down into the boiler room. The boiler room. Why is it always the crazy stuff happens in the boiler room? Anyway, they had snuck down in the boiler room to get away from everybody, and they were having their little heated moment, let's say that. And in walks either her ex or patient number two, and obviously angry at her, angry at this other person, pulls a knife out and stabs the nurse multiple times, and then goes to attack patient number one. Patient number one is able to wrestle the knife away from either the ex or patient number two, and then proceed to stab that person to death. So, the kind of crazy part about this one is they say if you go down in the boiler room and on the wall there is a blood stain burning down the wall. they say that that blood stain is from this accident, this scenario. And apparently some paranormal group had come out there and was able to get a sample of the blood off the walls, and when they ran it through forensics, it did come back as a positive for human blood. That's creepy. It's creepy, creepy, creepy. So even with all these entities and all these goings on, there's some other paranormal activities there that aren't tied to any one of these specific entities. And keep in mind, there's approximately 2,000 souls floating around this place. So, other things that are going on. Back in those days, they used to use these battery-operated babies. I don't know if it was to help females out during, addiction or whatever. I don't know if it was for children that had come to the clinic. I don't know. But they have a room with several battery-operated baby dolls or dolls. And during investigation, people have actually picked up recordings of these dolls talking to something. You got talking dolls, okay? Anybody else thinking Chucky? Wow. Yeah, I that's probably another thing I don't do well is I don't do children entities, and I don't do dolls. They're creepy. That's one of the reasons I put it in my intros, because they're creepy. I know they're creepy. So on top of that, you got reports of people seeing red glowing eyes that just hovering through the air. Large black apparition. Now, I'm going to notate here that could possibly be the nuns, wearing all black and everything. Just saying, a possibility. And then they also say that there's some entities or ghosts that come through there that look like people that are visiting the hospital. And then there's some that look like, wearing patient gowns and stuff like that. That's crazy. Wow. This is another one of those places that I absolutely, absolutely want to check out. Especially hearing all this and seeing all this. That is so crazy. Anyway, Yorktown Memorial Hospital. If you get a chance, go check it out. A little south of San Antonio, before you get to the border. It's abandoned now, but you might be able to find some ghost tours going through it, or something of that nature. It's worth a look-see. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Once again, if you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. Either way, you can leave me a comment, some constructive criticism, whatever you want to tell me. I'm willing to take anything. And don't forget to check out my Facebook page, A Presence from the Past, my website, A Presence from the Past. Yes, okay, so the story with A Presence from the Past is I mistyped it when I was creating the web page, and I accidentally, instead of being a smart person and rereading it, making sure it was spelled right and everything, I just send. So I'm stuck with A Presence from the Past until my subscription runs out, and then I can change it at that point. If the regular A Presence from the Past is not taken. Yeah, long story. Anyway, I think that's it. Thank you guys for checking us out, and until next time, have a good one, man.